Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dolphin Bay Rescue Program. Today we are going to look into the Clouded Leopard, and yes, it might sound confusing a little bit, but hear me out. This episode is actually something I'm super proud of. This is one of the coolest habitats I've built in a very long time, and I'm going to explain to you why. Now, the Clouded Leopard is obviously one of those animals that came with the latest DLC of Planet Zoo, which has been the Southeast Asia Animal Pack. And I haven't really played around too much with all of these animals. Truth to be told, I haven't even played with all of the animals yet. And I thought, the Clouded Leopard is definitely an animal that I really do love. I love to see it in zoos. I love to see it in general. I think they are mighty beautiful, and the movement is something really in particular I do admire. They're really fascinating animals, and I think the way they have been transferred into the game, the model is amongst the best models in the game. When we talked about the trailer and about the release images, I was already going nuts over the animal, and seeing it in game actually confirms why I was so hyped about it. There is a little bit of a bit to be disappointed about, but we talk about that later in today's real-time part, so wait for that. If you're interested in what my little criticism about this animal is, you'll see that in the end of the video, so stick with me. But now let's talk about this dedicated habitat over here, or shall I say sanctuary, because the reason I made this is, we talk about a rescue station, and that means we do have something in mind that is focusing mostly on conservation of animals and making sure that they have a good life, and in the best case repopulate and can be released back into the wild. So a reintroduction program, how it's called by default. Now, the reason why I decided to go for the Clouded Leopard here is, kind of what I said last episode already. This should not be focused on a specific area. If we would have said, for example, that this is located somewhere in the Caribbean Sea, it would have limited me to, a certain range of animals, which I didn't want to. So let's just say it's a tropical island, and this is kind of a tropical animal, so it's kind of, it's a fit. And why would you have, like, for example, only one type of animals in here? Why would we go only for aquatic animals? That doesn't really make sense. Now, I decided to go also for the Clouded Leopard, and you can actually, you can expect a lot more different tropical animals that live in here. I even thought about some elephants and stuff like that. This is going to be a rescue station, guys, and most likely rescue stations not always do decide on which animals they take. They basically take all the animals that need to be saved somewhat. And it appeared that while I was browsing on YouTube, actually, and I had a couple of minutes, spare time, just getting inspired, I came across a video that was a tour of the Nashville Zoo. And the Nashville Zoo seems to be very much well known for the repopulation and the breeding programs for Clouded Leopards, which in fact is funny because they still count as one of the most complicated animals when it comes to repopulation and breeding in general in zoos. But for whatever reason, the Nashville Zoo is just absolutely insane in it, and they already bred over 25, if I'm not wrong, at least over 20 babies in the last 10-ish years. And so that's a huge success for the species, because they're pretty endangered, but also for the zoo in Nashville. And so I got inspired a tiny bit by their habitat, but not too much, to be honest. Just got a little bit of inspiration. But this habitat over here is meant to be very specific. It has a very beautiful outside area, as you can see over here, and it's gonna get a dedicated climbing area, which is a tiny bit more to the left hand side with a viewing spot for the guests, and then there will be a huge backstage area with multiple habitats, like multiple sections, so to say, in which the animals can be held in, so that you could actually have different pairs of animals for dedicated breeding or quarantine or whatever you need, basically. And this sets also the theme for our ongoing project here. This is meant to be a rescue program, and again, they focus on making sure that the animals do live good and have a good thing, and now, or have a good time, I should say. And now, obviously, some of the habitats will look boring, I guess, even. Maybe they even look ugly, I don't know. And I want to tell a story with this project. And the story is definitely not always beautiful habitat. Sometimes you have some animals that come to you in a very short amount of time and they just ask you, can you take them? You're like, well, no, but yes. So you're gonna have to prepare something in a hurry. And this is what we're also going to create. There will be, and you guys can give me already some suggestions which kind of animals you would see in that, but definitely I want to have some habitats with some animals in that really feel rushed and kind of, you know, scrapped together real quick, so that they just can have the animals in here to make sure that they take care of them, and then in the long run, if they would decide to keep them there, they would obviously improve the habitat. But sometimes they don't even need to take these animals for too long. They just have them, cure them, and then they bring them back into the wild. So in these cases, the habitats are obviously just like temporary. And you know, we will definitely have some temporary habitats in here that could work for different animal types, you know. And I think this is very important to tell a story like that. By the way, you see a build here which I'm going to not use. I mean, I liked what it turned out to be, but the performance was hit so hard by it because always using the same piece, I just decided to not do it. But back to the topic. This habitat over here in particular is a different story. This one is really like, you know, I imagine that this rescue program just once got, you know, maybe 1 or 2 clouded leopards, and then they just figure out that they couldn't release them into the wild because they have been domesticated, or is that even the right word for them? Or not tamed, you know, but they have been used too much to humans, or maybe they even have experienced too much bad things that they just couldn't be released into the wild anymore. So what they decided is to keep them, give them a beautiful habitat, and make sure that they breed some babies in which they can then take the babies and train them in a different way to, you know, hopefully release them, or if not, then at least their following kids of the next generation, so that they can slowly but steadily get them used back to the wilderness. That would be what I imagine to be happening here with the program. So there's also like another very positive side effect. I have the chance to have more than just 2 animals in here, because normally obviously these animals are only held as 1, maybe 2, and if you're lucky with some babies, there might be some more in a habitat, but you know, usually those animals are not really in a bigger group. So yeah, I guess this is a good note about this, so we can actually have them in here, some more of these animals in. But yeah, just in general, I think that's a good story for our rescue program over here. However, what do you think about this, guys? Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this idea to really tell a story with each habitat and with each area. And if you have some stories about this, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm really always curious about this. You've helped me out a lot on the first episode here, so I hope that the support is equally amazing in this episode. And I think it would be very helpful if you can give me some examples of these types of animals that have been rescued in an area that you know, or maybe you are even working in a rescue station or not, and you can give me some good insight on that. I really would love to have that, because it's something, you know, this project should go for. And obviously, if you don't have that knowledge, you can still come up with a story that we can maybe integrate into the zoo. So maybe you have a good idea for a story. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Which animal would you take? What's the story behind? What would you do? Why would you do it? And you know, how could we realize that? This would be something really helpful, and it's going to help me in shaping that story. Because again, I said maybe this project is not going to have that many episodes, but once I have an episode, it should actually be really filled with a lot of different good stuff. You know, that's really something I'm very much looking forward to make it really nice, and somewhat finished, and somewhat also makes sense. And today's episode will show you basically where we ended up, and we will have the real-time part. I'll show you where we are and what's going to happen next. I do have something very specific in mind, but that's something we are going to talk about in the real-time part. And don't forget, we also wanted to talk about one thing that I don't really like about these animals. But yeah, so you see over here, this is going to be the dedicated climbing area for the animals, because these animals love to spend the time in trees and climbing. So I just decided to give them a lot, because in the other more open area, area, there's not that much to climb for them. You know, we don't have that many big trees in which they could climb. So it's, you know, this area is very coastal, so it's not like jungle. It is tropical, but not jungle. So in fact, we need to take care of these animals in terms of climbing need, and that's not going to be made by the trees available. So we're going to have to give them a dedicated climbing area instead, which I felt a little bit like Haribo using these ropes over here, even though this design is like 1.8 million times less complicated than the designs he is doing. But still, I quite like the idea of having this bigger netting on top of it. The way I do connect it, it doesn't really make that much sense, to be honest. I just figured later, but you know, I will just cover it up on the sides, and then that makes sense, just so that the animals cannot jump above. But at the moment, the netting doesn't really make too much sense to me, so I will definitely change that at a certain point. I was also lowering down the fences over here, as you've seen, the glass fences. This is down to the fact that you couldn't really see much in the lighting, so I decided there to go for the views instead of the realism of having the glass all over there. Maybe I'm going to make some kind of fencing or whatever in front of it, so it just kind of makes a little bit more sense, but yeah, we are going to see. But yeah, as you can see, this is the end of the time-lapse. You will see a little bit of an update later on of the backstage area in the real-time part, but let's talk about that now in the real-time part. Alright, there we go. This is the sanctuary, or the habitat, in its full glory, and I did a few tweaks already. As you can see, this is again the climbing area, and before we start doing something else, let me just quickly tell you about what I really dislike about these animals. Now, as beautiful as they are and as great as the animations are that Frontier is doing, these animals are most probably the most bugged big cats in this game. Like, climbing and stuff just really doesn't work, and we have these weird slow motion jumps going on all the time, and I've got no real idea what is happening. I haven't seen them using this enrichment item over here just once. I haven't seen them using any of those climbing opportunities here once. I've seen all of these weird jumps, but they just completely ignore everything over here. It's a little bit of a shame, because I really tried making these structures not too complicated. You can see I really opted for something super simple like that, you know, that they just could walk over here, and then that's about it. I just have some logs lying around, like nothing complicated, far away from what I'm usually doing with the climbing rigs and stuff, and man, they just still do not really use it. I did actually put some other animals in here. I put the jack in, I put some other animals in, and they seem to use it a lot better than those, which it's just a little pity. And I left it running for like an hour or something, and you can see I've got a lot of babies and stuff. Oh wow, look at that. This is the first time seeing that. But yeah, it is a little bit of a pity, and I really hope that Frontier is on it. I've seen a lot of people complaining about that and noticing that in the forums, so I'm really hoping that Frontier is going to take care of that, because these animals just look too good to not have them move accordingly. However, let's just have a little look onto these animals now anyways, because my gosh, they look absolutely fantastic. Just, you know, before you think I'm only talking negative stuff, I also can talk good stuff. Look at the fur, look at everything. It just looks so fantastic. The texturing and stuff is really top notch on these animals. I am absolutely in awe with it. But yeah, so this is the coastal side. I made obviously sure that they cannot escape, and then a little bit of stuff I did off screen is the backstage area. So as I said, it is meant to be a little bit of sanctuary, and so we do have multiple, you know, habitat possibilities. I imagine that I could even strip off that one so that you do have different sections. So if that section in the middle here, you've separated one over here, you've obviously the climbing one, you've got another one over here, you've got 1 and 2 shelters, and then you've got the coastal area, and you have the big open space habitat, and all of these are connected with each other. They have, as you can see, some gates in between so that they don't move there. By the way, I just did this to make sure that, you know, most of the animals are moving where the guests would be looking. In reality, you could open them up and close them down. I put some stuff in each habitat, you know, just to make sure it looks like as if they are really meant to be there and not just, you know, open spaces. But this is what I did, just to make sure that it makes a little bit of sense. It's not like finished entirely, because I also want to make sure that we do have a access point down here for the stuff, because as I said, this is going to be a more stuff focused area in general. It's not going to be guest focused, because that is a rescue station which definitely serves for different needs than for guests. So the guest area will most likely be, and this is now me giving you a bit of an idea, so the guest area will most likely focus on really that little bit over here. So you know, imagining that we do make like a little harbor and like a road connected to the right hand side here, this inner bit, and you know what, I'm going to just paint that off real quick so you have an idea what I mean. So this area over here, whoops, there you go. This will probably be the guest area only, so that's it. And then we might have a little bit of an access road going into that area here, which provides the guests with some views maybe onto something else, and that is about it. So this is going to be really the center of the action when it comes to the guest, and everything else will be filled in with like backstage and stuff. And this is what we're going to do next episode. So next episode will most likely be focused on this area here, which is going to be the seal area, and I want to make something dedicated for the seals. I wanted them to use also these backload areas, but for some odd reasons I need to redo some stuff here with with the fences and stuff. I just show you, there is a little bit of an issue here. So once you have water volumes that are too close to each other, animals keep escaping via them, even though there is, and this is what I'm going to show you, there is a space in between where there's no water in. So we've got a water volume here and we've got a water volume here, but in between there's nothing. It's open and there's some space, in order to make sure that they do not go through here and dive. But if I would fill in the water right over here, they will just completely ignore the barrier and just dive into the ocean, which then also crashes my game, because it's just too much to calculate, it seems. And the same happens over here, so I kept this one open, but there are some barriers, and I've already started to cover that up here from the backside, which, you know, will be done a little bit better in the future anyhow. But this is how it looks. And this is how it goes, and we are really focusing on making that look a lot better. So what I will do eventually is I will rip apart this entire bit over here. I'm going to deconnect this water here. I'm going to make this like a double airlock kind of ish gate here and here as well, so that the ocean is separated, and we can go on with that one. And this is going to be something else we're going to talk about in the future, but you know, that's I have some ideas already for that. But yeah, that's about it for today. Let's have a little look to our finished version of the Clouded Leopard Sanctuary. And oh my god, it's actually so big. If you consider how small a clouded leopard is, they can really not complain about the size of their habitat. I think it's really decent. It has a size that makes a lot of sense, and hopefully is going to help with selling the idea. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Please make sure to show me support by commenting down below, or just liking the video, or if you didn't like the video, which is also totally fine, please let me know in the comments down below what you didn't like and what you think I can improve. But other than that, I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good time, stay safe everyone, and goodbye.